did we catch them in the act. They are very embarrassed. They never thought they were going to get caught. We caught them.
Since this whole Devin Nunes memo controversy began, the discussion in major media organizations has sent us into a bizarre world of utter hypocrisy, and it's going to have major consequences for the liberty and privacy of countless Americans. There is a FISA scandal. There is a scandal about using the NSA to spy on American citizens. But the scandal is not some low-stakes bullshit about Carter Page. The scandal is the program itself and the very long and ongoing history of U.S. abuses of surveillance powers.
The greatest fear that I have regarding the outcome for America of these disclosures is that nothing will change.
The FBI and the CIA have well-established track records of political spying, of using surveillance programs that were supposedly put in place to protect the country from crime and terrorism and external threats, to dig up dirt on dissidents, to do racial profiling, and to break up terror plots that never would have been hatched but for the involvement of the FBI. But apparently Fox News' Tucker Carlson just figured out that something may be wrong here.
For the first time in generations, Americans have reason to believe that our intelligence and law enforcement agencies gravely misused the powers we have given them, violating the civil liberties of Americans and taking sides in political contests.
Perhaps what Tucker really means is that this is the first time rich white men have had reason to be concerned about this kind of surveillance. We've been talking about these abuses for years. Donald Trump Jr., he seems equally outraged when he learned about a program that's been targeting American citizens for a long time. I wonder why he cares now.
Well, listen, I think the takeaway should be that Americans should be a little bit scared about what's going on right now. I mean, when you hear this stuff going on, you don't think of this happening in the United States. You don't think of this happening in a country where we have a foundation of laws and principles grounded in the Constitution, because this to me seems like a clear violation of that.
You want to investigate a scandal? Let's look at the lawless, warrantless surveillance program that was put on steroids by Bush and Cheney right after 9/11. Look at how both major political parties supported it. Look at how President Barack Obama grew the no-fly list database and the way that Muslim Americans are disproportionately targeted under both Democratic and Republican administrations. There is without question a problem right now with exaggerations and propaganda being broadcast on major media outlets surrounding this Nunes memo and spying on American citizens.
And welcome to Hannity. And breaking right now, the highly classified FISA abuse memo has now been released, and it is absolutely shocking. It is stunning. Now, this now is the biggest abuse of power, corruption case in American history.
By the way, it makes me totally love, and I think it makes most Americans love Trump even more.
Now, of course, anyone paying attention knows that Fox News is on the crazy train. But I'm talking about supposedly respectable news organizations promoting this idea that somehow the answer to the Nunes memo and the Trump presidency is to rally around the spies and the national security apparatus in the U.S. I'm referring to all of these former senior CIA officials and NSA officials and FBI officials who are constantly being presented in the media as serving the interests of the broader public.
Joining us now, former CIA Director John Brennan. He's now a senior national security and intelligence analyst for NBC News and MSNBC.
Let's be clear here. James Clapper, John Brennan, Michael Hayden, and their ilk are no friends of civil liberties or transparency. They have spent their entire careers building up sweeping surveillance powers, global assassination operations, and they fought tooth and nail to hide their activities from Congress and the American people. You know what was a major scandal under Obama? His CIA director, John Brennan, tried to stop the Senate from releasing its investigation into the CIA's torture program. The CIA went so far as to spy on Senate staffers.
Director Brennan, in 2014, the CIA conducted an unauthorized search of Senate files, including the emails of Senate staff investigating the CIA's use of torture.
How on earth is James Clapper being touted as an expert on protecting our liberties? Why is he constantly allowed to take to the airwaves to spout his CIA, NSA propaganda? This is a man who actually lied under oath to Congress on the very issue of spying on Americans.
Does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly.
The irony and hypocrisy from Brennan and Clapper might make for good comedy if it wasn't so dangerous that these men are treated like sage, principled, detached, wise experts. They were both involved in truly atrocious activities and in senior positions. Carter Page being surveilled, that's the scandal? To paraphrase the hypocrite Sean Hannity, this Carter Page situation, it's like stealing a Snickers bar compared to spying on the Senate, or doing mass collection on Americans without a warrant, or lying about doing it under oath. But back then, the deep state was most beloved by Republicans who believed that the CIA was protecting them from big, scary socialist Obama. You see how this works? I am much more concerned about what the political and espionage elites do every day to violate our rights than I am with the surveillance of Carter Page. The real scandal is the program itself. The scandal is the ongoing U.S. legacy of the state targeting political opponents. Where was this outrage when Obama was ordering the killing of people, including American citizens who had not been charged with crimes, in drone strikes across the world? After 9/11, the CIA systematically tortured people, put them in horrid gulags, and shipped them to Guantanamo.
A lot of what needs to be done here will have to be done quietly, without any discussion, using sources and methods that are available to our intelligence agencies.
The circus in Washington right now over this Nunes memo, it's a spat among white-collar elite politicians. At the end of the day, this is mostly about partisan bullshit, and it's dripping with hypocrisy. The elite of both political parties are on the side of the surveillance state, the war machine, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the drone strikes, the massive spying. The most important point to understand in all of this is that Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff helped Paul Ryan and the Republicans push through the reauthorization of the very spy program that the Republicans are now railing against because of this Carter Page bullshit.
I want to thank the minority leader for coming up and speaking against the Amash Amendment and in favor of the underlying bipartisan amendment.
Pelosi sided with the Republicans in defeating a bipartisan amendment supported by a majority of her members that tried to protect Americans' privacy. Isn't that what the GOP claims is the issue here? It's all bullshit. The Republican and Democratic leadership, they remain on the very same team when it matters most. It's team mass surveillance. If the Republicans really cared about these core issues of the abuse of surveillance powers, they wouldn't have just voted to renew the very program that they claim was used to target the Trump campaign. And if the Democrats really believe that Trump is a grave danger, why would they join the Republicans in giving incredible authority to Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions over this surveillance apparatus? So you see, when all these Democrats are railing against how Republicans are going to hurt our security or hinder the FBI's ability to spy because of the Nunes memo, keep in mind that those very same politicians support the whole rights-abusing system. This is just a disagreement among elites and allies when it comes to the CIA, NSA, FBI, and the whole spy program. I'm glad that we're discussing spying on Americans, but let's cut the bullshit here and be honest. This is a system that was built up, supported, authorized by Democrats and Republicans alike. If the Republicans were truly concerned about these powers and not just using it for their stupid partisan crusade, then we'd have a great and worthy battle in front of us. But they aren't. And neither are the leaders of the Democratic Party. This isn't Nunes and the GOP versus the Democrats and the noble intel community. This is a battle between our civil liberties and our rights and the addiction of a relatively small number of elite politicians with disproportionate power to keep the mass surveillance operation going.